Hello, myself Rima Haldar. Welcome to in this video. Today we discuss on diapause in insect. So let's start. Diapause means pause, the term coined by William Wheeler 1893. Now here is the contents. Introduction, occurrence, types of diapause, cues or stimuli of diapause, nutrient accumulation and its storage for diapause, and phases of diapause. In this video, we will cover all of this. Okay. First of all, introduction. Insects have evolved a number of adaptive mechanisms to deal with an environment that can be unfavorable for activity and development temporarily or for long periods. So, diapause is related to unfavorable environmental conditions. Three of the ways that insects adapt to an unfavorable environmental condition include number 1, dormancy, number 2, quiescence, and number 3, diapause. First of all, dormancy. What is dormancy? Dormancy is a broadly encompassing term that has been used to describe any state of suppressed development, usually accompanied by suppressed metabolism. In this broad sense, dormancy surrounded two very different states, quiescence and diapause. Now, we will discuss about quiescence. What is quiescence? It is an immediate response of an insect, mainly temperate and polar region, such as a few days of unseasonably cold weather by slowing down development and metabolism. The quiescence state is not genetically programmed. The main important point is that the quiescence state is not genetically programmed or regulated. With the return of favorable environmental condition, the insect responds immediately with resumption of normal activity. The third is diapause. It is a genetically regulated process which represent an alternative developmental pathway prompted by unique pattern of gene expression that result in the sequestration of nutrients reserve, suppression of metabolism, a halt or slowing of development, and the acquisition of increased tolerance to environmental condition. Now, let's see the main difference between quiescence and diapause. Quiescence and diapause. Quiescence stage, with the return of favorable environmental conditions, the insects responds immediately with the resumption of normal activity. While in diapause does not end with temporary return of favorable environmental conditions. These are the main differences between quiescence and diapause stage. Diapause often begins while favorable environmental conditions still exist and does not end with temporarily return of favorable condition. Because insects sense and apparently measure predictably changing environment such as approaching winter, and then prepare for entire diapause well before condition become unfavorable for continuing activity and development, and often continuing diapause for some time even after favorable environmental condition return. Once entered in diapause typically continued for months and a few cases for a year or more. Metabolism typically is depressed, so they use less energy and nutrient reserve in the body are conserved. The next point is occurrence of diapause. Species are known to undergo diapause in the embryonic stage, larvae, pupae, or as adults. Usually, an insect does not undergo diapause in more than one stage, but exception always there. Types. Diapause is obligatory for some insects, typically those with an univolatile life cycle. For example, Bombyx mori. So that every generation enter diapause during the same point of life cycle. In most insects, diapause is facultative. As long as favorable condition exist, generation continue without diapause. But when unfavorable conditions are entered or imminent, diapause is entered. Next, what are the cues or stimuli inducing diapause? Environmental token cues that cause insects to enter diapause include drought, desiccation, low moisture content of food, scarcity of food, high temperature, low temperature, that means thermoperiod, critical day length, crowding, maternal age and oviposition, and maternal diet, etc. The environmental condition that induce diapause in the greatest number of insects, especially those in the temperate and arctic region, are seasonal alteration of day or night length and decreasing temperature as reliable indicator of approaching winter. Nutrients accumulation and its storage for diapause. Most diaposing insects feed only sparingly or not at all. Certainly, diaposing embryos and pupae have no opportunity to feed. Prior to entering into diapause, insects typically feed vigorously and synthesize and store nutrients primarily as lipids or proteins. Lipid, the richest source of energy, more than twice the calories from a gram of lipid compared to carbohydrate or protein, usually are stored triacylglycerol. Triacylglycerol (TAG) tag lipase hydrolyzes fatty acids from triacylglycerol and metabolism of fatty acid provides energy for diapause maintenance and for the post diapause until feeding resumes. Many insects accumulate a special protein called hexamerine prior to diapause. The protein are called hexamerine because they are typically made 6 equal sized subunit. The protein usually have a high content of aromatic amino acid and are frequently referred to as arylforines, storage protein. It was thought at one time that these were specific to diapause and they were called diapause protein in some early literature. However, it is now recognized that many insects synthesize hexamerine but never undergo diapause. They are synthesized by the fat body and are released into the hemolymph. Generally, they are resequestered by fat body cells and stored until used building new tissues, generally during pupation and formation of adult tissues. In non-diaposing insect, arylporins are used in metamorphosis and growth of new tissues. Next, phases of diapause. Phases of diapause. There are three phases of diapause: pre-diapause, diapause, and diapause termination. Pre-diapause. Pre-diapause, it also divided into two sub phases, that is induction phase and preparation phase. Induction phase, the pre-diapause program typically begin well before environmental conditions become adverse for further development or survival. Entry into diapause, it is not a certain or triggered event but typically a slow process with changes occurring gradually. The principal token cues or stimuli inducing diapause are changes in day length and temperature, but other factors like inadequate nutritional resources, low water content, and senses and quality of food resources, overcrowding, drought, desiccation, the mother diet, mother age and oviposition, and exposure of mother to certain environmental condition, that is thermoperiod, photoperiod during development and oogenesis. The way that insects measure the daylight hours per day is not well understood, but involves the par protein encoded by the gene PAR, the only gene so far implicated in pre-diapause and development. Some parasitoids enter diapause when their host enter diapause, and they depend on the host endocrine system to terminate diapause. Sometimes presence of a parasitoids in a host can cause the host to fail to enter diapause when it otherwise would have done so. Next, preparatory phase. Both behavioral and physiological preparation is required before entering into diapause. Behavioral preparation. Preparatory state is characterized by behavior that bring the insect to a special overwinter site, greater protection, or by active behaviors that modify the environment to escape the extreme condition. For example, some caterpillars can cause the leaf to roll up. It forms a protective enclosure that may trap solar heat and also protects the insect from predation during the diaposing stage. Next one is physiological preparation. This is very important. Overwintering insects that undergo diapause in order to survive in cold temperature typically synthesize low molecular weight polyols such as glycerol, sorbitol, trehalose, and accumulate energy reserve as lipids. The adults stored in the fat body as triacylglycerol. Polyols may serve as cryoprotectants, and in some cases they may serve in control of the diapause program. The next phase is diapause. Diapause initiation phase. Initiation of diapause may or may not be easy to determine. Coastal defines initiation at that point in time when development ceases, as for example when the insect molt into a specific diapause state that has characterized by color or morphological feature. Another characteristic of initiation of diapause is the decrease in metabolic rate as measured by oxygen consumption, but the change in metabolic rate may be gradual in those species that remain active in diapause. Some insects secrete additional hydrocarbon on the cuticle to help minimize water loss during a long diapause. Some Lepidopteran larvae continue to be active and feed and may experience molting during growth during diapause. This phenomenon is known as stationary molt. Next, maintenance. Once diapause initiated, it is usually maintained for weeks or months, even when environmental conditions may be suitable for development. Beyond the obvious changes in activity and repressed metabolism, they can be measured in diaposing insects. Relatively little is known about the internal physiology and biochemistry of diaposing insect. Token stimuli aid maintenance of diapause, followed by gradual decrease in diapause intensity. The third one and the last one is diapause termination. Diaposing insect gradually become more sensitive to diapause terminating condition as diapause intensity decreases, but like the intensity of diapause, this is also a gradual process. Termination usually depends on reception of token stimuli concerning the environment. The physiology of termination often begins long before the insect manifests behavior that clearly means diapause is over. Factors that lead to diapause termination usually are environmental condition, but the transduction mechanism by which environment signals and converted into physiological and biochemical process leading to diapause termination and resumption of development in most species are not resolved. So this is all about the diapause in insects. If you have any doubts or any comments, please comment below. I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.